Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again, and I'm here to give my thoughts on the most anticipated game to come out in 2025, and that of course being Hollow Knight Silksong. Now, I haven't finished this game, and the reason why I'm talking about it now is because, well, I'll explain that later. But if you've seen my video on my thoughts on games like Returnal or Baldur's Gate 3, then you'll probably understand what I mean by that. But hey, I doubt any of you guys seen them because when I talk about video games, they do not get nearly as much hits as my review for, I don't know, animated movies or movies that I thought sucked. But let's get into it. So, if you haven't heard of Hollow Knight Silksong, oh man, it has been hyped to the brim. It was announced 6 years ago, a couple years after Hollow Knight 1 was released, which became a huge hit. People adore the game. I love the game too. It has spawned numerous amounts of acclaim, and people have called it one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. It was dark, it was grim, it had a great art style, amazing boss battles, rewarding challenge, and all around just being an original take on the Metroidvania genre. It was so inventive, and I absolutely loved it, and I finished it just a few months before this game finally came out. The fact that we got an actual release date, which it would be in 2 weeks, and of course those 2 weeks are already up, we were hyped. We knew that Team Cherry was putting so much care into this game that, we knew that, this was going to be big. It was so big, in fact, that once the game was released, it completely crashed the servers for people downloading the game on Steam or Game Pass. But that's a good thing because it shows that people were ready to play this game. And a lot of people have been enjoying it so far. Do I feel the same way? Do I think it's a masterpiece that deserves to be called one of the greatest sequels in recent memory? Did it truly live up to the hype? Well, I can't really say for sure, but I can tell you that the game is great so far. This is another immersive experience from Team Cherry. Now, to get more context of what this game is about, you play as Hornet, who was from the first game in which she was imprisoned. However, she manages to escape, and she has to explore a new area within the world of Hollow Knight as she explores and fights off more dangerous enemies. And of course, the game lures you in with environmental storytelling and NPCs you meet along the way, which will give you new items, better upgrades along the way. And yeah, I knew for a fact that this was going to be one of the biggest games to come out this year. And as for someone who hasn't, okay, so I haven't gotten through Act 1 yet. I am very close to finishing Act 1, but there's a reason why I haven't been able to get past it. So, of course, there's a lot of things I do need to praise first, okay? So my first impressions on the game are, of course, the art style. The art style has been one of the big things to draw people into the game because of how unique the style is. It's kind of like, a cartoon fantasy world, and because this is by an indie developer, it's going to look super good. The fact that, it's not retro style or anything like that, it's almost in the same way as like a modern, Cuphead style of, cartoon animation and gaming. Each area feels so unique and feels so well detailed. Like, there are some really nice hidden details in terms of the animation style that will really hook you on and will make you want to keep exploring throughout the game. I should also mention the fact that, there are also quests you can do, which are called wishes, that you can grant for each individual. Like, you can get them off of a board, or a random NPC will give you one. There's a lot to uncover here throughout this game when it comes to the quests and the main storyline. The game's divided into 3 acts. Well, technically it's divided into 2, but you unlock the third one, as far as I know of, where you have to do every single wish, and of course, it's not going to be easy. In fact, nothing about this game is easy, and I'll get to that in a minute, but there was just so much love into this game that, it definitely feels like, they took their time making this game. And the bosses, too. Oh man, there were times where I thought some of the bosses were even better than the bosses from the first game. And I haven't even beaten all the bosses in the first game. Like, I haven't beaten the true final boss in Hollow Knight 1, but I did at least make it to the credits. And I know if I did decide to do 112% that game, I would probably be old by the time that I reach that point. So yeah, God only knows what kind of challenges this game has to offer, because it has a lot to offer, and I mean a lot to offer. You're going to have to explore every single area to get the best types of equipment, in terms of like the skills you get, because it's very similar to Hollow Knight 1, only you don't get a lot of them till much later on within the game. Now, one thing I was kind of worried with is, you know how in Hollow Knight 1 there was like this needle that you use? When you use the needle, you could just, or technically it was a nail in the first game. When you swipe it down, you bounce off things. It was pretty easy to use. However, when Hornet uses it, she uses it in like a diagonal form, which got super annoying for me, especially when I went to this one area that I didn't go back to till later on when I got a better upgrade, which definitely redeemed that for me, because I was worried that I had to use that throughout the entire game, but they were all like, nope, we knew that a lot of people weren't going to be a fan of that, so we decided to swap that out. Well, you do get it later on, which is a lot more helpful. So there are ways of getting out of situations. In some areas you can come back to later, and you can pretty much explore like any single area, just like you would in a Metroidvania game, in how you want to. Well, not all the time. So that kind of brings me to the one thing about this game. Of course, you probably know what it is. The difficulty. Yeah, I died a lot in this game. Specifically from bosses and even areas themselves. And yeah, I suffered a lot throughout this game. And this is coming from a guy who beat Cuphead. Though it took me 6 years to beat that game, despite it being very short. But oh man. The difficulty in this game makes the difficulty in Hollow Knight look easier than the Bluey video game. I'm not even kidding. Like, yeah, I struggled a lot in Hollow Knight 1, but, you know, some people, while a lot of people have been loving the game, like, they haven't been review bombing it like they did with Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, just due to how difficult that was. Though, I feel like this is more punishing than Shadow of the Erdtree, because there's a difference between Shadow of the Erdtree and this game. There's a difference between every single Souls game and this game. So, look, I'm not dissing the game for its difficulty, but it's pretty much the reason why I'm giving you my thoughts now and not waiting to review the game, because I would love to review the game, but the difficulty, it's kind of holding me back. Now, I knew this game was going to be difficult. I thought it was going to be balanced in the same way Hollow Knight 1 did, because it was challenging earlier in the game, but it got harder much later on. This game brings in the challenge immediately. So here's the thing. You know how... Okay, so in terms of your health bar, you have like 5 mask pieces. Every time you get hit, you lose one of those pieces. However, when it comes to much bigger enemies, some of those hits that you get will take off 2 of your mask pieces. And a lot of them are during bosses or big enemies, and it's going to happen a lot. So for some people, that's going to be a major annoyance. And you start up with 5 pieces. You can get like another mask shard when you get all 4 pieces before finishing the last act or finishing the first act. But it still doesn't help. I mean, you can also get like this shard that gives you like an extra hit point. It breaks if you lose that, but it does still count as an extra boost. And it'll always come back when you go back to your save point, which is a bench. But let me tell you, the thing about this game, though, is that the challenge comes in way too early, that some of the upgrades that you get, you're not going to be able to get until much later on. Like, you can't even upgrade your nail until you beat a certain boss more than halfway through the first act. And that's kind of what got on my nerves. Now, there are some bosses in the game that can be kind of a cakewalk, just learn their pattern, and it actually makes it a little bit more fun. The thing about that, though, is that sometimes when it comes to the bosses, when you die, you have to go all the way back to a bench, just like you would in like another Souls-like. But of course, the runbacks can be very tedious, especially... Okay, this is the reason why I haven't beaten the first act yet. It's because... So, the boss is called the Last Judge when it comes to the final boss of the first act. The thing about that is, it also does double damage. And the worst thing about it is the run back, okay? So there's a pit that takes off 2 of your health if you fall into it. And there are swarms of enemies out to get you. Like, you can either hit them, that way you'll get your silk stuff, which is what you use so you can heal and use your ultimate weapons when you do go throughout the game. But you gotta be careful when you do it, because God only knows what will happen if you get to the final boss of the first act and you only have 1 left, because, oh man, it is not easy. And the fact that, you made all that progress going all the way over there, and the fact that there's literally an area in the corner just before the room that literally has nothing, where you could have just put a bench right there and just open it up, it would have been a little bit more forgiving. But that's kind of the one thing that's kind of preventing me. However, there is another way to get over there, but oh man, you might as well just try your best with a boss. Because here's the thing. It's called Sinner. There's this level called Sinner's Road, right? Oh man. Okay, so there is a bench in that game you can sit on, but here's the catch. It doesn't work. The only way you can get to the bench is if you go through a dangerous area with okay, so there's a lot of like poison in this one area where if you get poison, you can't use your silk. I mean, you can use your silk. The only time you can boost that up is if you just get rid of the poison. But the worst part about it is jumping off spikes. You have to like go from one area over here to the other, and you got to make sure not to touch the spikes, because if you do, you're going all the way back to that one area. And it was hell. I didn't even manage to get past it because of how much of a struggle it is. It will take like 3 minutes just to get all the way up there. So yeah, it's like pick your poison. You can either fight the boss and, end the chapter the right way, or skip the boss and just try your best to, make it so you can go to the save bench. But yeah, this game, it just gets way too extreme with the difficulty, and it's definitely been turning players off when it comes to the gameplay, causing some people to want to stop the game. I feel like when it comes to this game, it is for the legendary Hollow Knight players, those who have 112%ed every single area within the game. So it's clear that, this game, it's definitely far more for the fans who are familiar with Hollow Knight 1. But here's the thing. Some people will probably complain that the game is just Hollow Knight 1, just with Hornet. I personally didn't feel that way. Despite the fact that the biggest difference is the difficulty, there are things about it that I feel separates it apart in terms of like the new abilities as well as the quests you can do. While you can save little bug things just like in Hollow Knight, and while you can't complain that the map is pretty much the same and the map keeper is replaced with someone else, so it's still kind of the same. I feel like in terms of what the game is going for, in terms of the new things that it has, I feel like there is a lot to really separate apart in terms of the lore and the world. There was a lot that the developers put into this game in terms of the music and the art style, that it's one of those times where, the difficulty, it's definitely not forgiving at all. Like, I feel like it would be far more forgiving if, benches were a lot closer, especially when it comes to the boss in the end of the first act, because I haven't even gotten to the second act, and the game's divided into 3 acts, like I mentioned before. However, if you're playing on PC, the game does have mods where the game only deals 1 mass damage. However, you really got to be careful when you're healing up too, because if you're healing up and an enemy hits you, yeah, it's just going to completely break that, and you're just going to lose all that health. So yeah, this game definitely does not pull any punches when it comes to the difficulty. It is going to annoy you just like it annoyed me so much. There are just times where I absolutely hated it, but it's like in that same sense where you argue with your parents, you say you hate them, but later on you're all like, no, I still love you, I didn't mean what I said. It's kind of like in that scenario. But after struggling a lot throughout this game, I feel like I just need a break. So I feel like if I was to finish it, I would probably have to play on PC, but that's the thing. I'm not a PC gamer. I don't do all those mod things or whatnot. I only use my laptop just to edit videos. But it's one of these days where maybe I should get a gaming PC or at least a gaming laptop, because it would kind of be helpful at this point. I know that's cheating, but there are times where you can cheese enemies, like this one boss called the Morwing boss. If you have a specific crest, you can defeat that boss just by going into the corner of this one area towards the entrance and just do a jump attack constantly, and then that'll kill it. They're probably going to patch that out. I hope they don't, in case I want to play on another console, because I played on Game Pass, and I feel like I should finish the game, because sometimes the game isn't always going to be on Game Pass forever unless I buy the game. I was originally going to get it for Switch too, but I might as well I decided to just play it on Game Pass first. The thing about this game is, while I have beaten really difficult games before, I've beaten almost every single Souls game except Sekiro. But here's the thing with games like Dark Souls. You can grind in those games for all eternity and get stronger without having to worry about getting better stuff later on. You can do that throughout Elden Ring, Bloodborne, those types of games. But in Silksong, a lot of the good stuff you get doesn't come up till after you beat major parts of the game. And that's the one thing that I feel like hurts the game a little bit for me, especially with how much, effort you need to put into your playthrough when getting to one area to the next. Now, I'm not saying I want an easy mode, because sometimes the challenge can be very rewarding, even though you don't really get that many big rewards from playing the bosses and stuff. But all in all, the game I still think is great. I played enough of the game to tell you that it is definitely worth playing. And for $20 too, and the fact that the game has 2 acts plus an extra act, if you do decide to do all the wishes, you see, this is how you release a new game that's both finished and very affordable. With this and Clair Obscur, there are some games to come out in this generation that are absolutely worth owning without having to worry about, the fact that they're releasing the game now and, trying to finish it later, because games like this, they have a lot of variety in them. So yeah, it's brutal. It's probably one of those games I'm not going to finish for a while, but I want to give my thoughts anyway, because there's still a lot to this game that will probably make me want to come back if I do ever decide to just, suck it up and get good. But still, let me know. Are you enjoying the game so far? Is it too hard for you? Do you wish there was an easy mode? Because, I don't think they're going to do that, because I don't think that's the point of these games. But yeah, it may be harder than the first game, but I'm not going to quit. Even though I really want to sometimes. I just need like a long break and just, finish some other games that I haven't finished yet. Or better yet, if you saw my Blu-ray collection video, you'll know that there were a lot of movies that I own that I haven't even watched yet. So yeah, I just need a break, but I want to get my thoughts now because I was so hyped for this game. And I do think it lived up to the hype, though it's definitely not going to please every single fan. If you expect more of a balanced challenge, you're going to be disappointed. If you expect more of, okay, that's really about it in terms of, players being disappointed. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. You enjoying it? You still playing it? Have you finished it? Let me know down in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe Blue Sky. Links are in the description. And I'll see you guys later. Word out.